Hello, my name is Cody Shanks. I'm a senior at ETSU. I'm in Dr. Chandley's Human Anatomy class, and today I'm going to go over some study tips for the cranial nerves. To begin, there are 12 of them, and some of them provide sensory information, some of them provide motor information, and some of them provide both sensory and motor, but I will discuss which ones do which further in the video. To begin, I guess we'll just jump right in. Olfactory is the first cranial nerve. And the word olfactory kind of sounds like old factory to me. And I always associate olfactory as it being smelly. And the olfactory nerve provides sensory information about smell to the brain. And that's how I remember olfactory. For the second one, it's the optic nerve. And the only way I don't really have a shortcut for this one, but I've always just associated optic with eyes and vision. And that's exactly what the optic nerve does. It provides vision, and it is only a sensory nerve as well. The third one is ocular motor, and with the name motor in the word, you can assume that it provides motor information. The ocular motor nerve covers 4 of the 6 movements that are associated with the eye. The other 2 will be covered further on in the video. The fourth cranial nerve is the trochlear nerve, and it covers one of the other 2 movements associated with the eye. It innervates the superior oblique muscle, and it provides motor information as well. The 5th cranial nerve is trigeminal, and this is a pretty big one too. It's the largest of the cranial nerves. It provides both sensory and motor function. It assists in some of the motor functions such as biting and chewing, and it provides sensory info about the face, and I don't know, that's about all I've got for trigeminal. It has 3 branches, the word tri meaning 3. Yeah, and then the nerve provides both sensory and motor information. The 6th cranial nerve is the abducens nerve, and that nerve covers the last of the 6 movements of the eye. It innervates the lateral rectus muscle, which is responsible for looking outward, and abducens is only a motor nerve. The 7th cranial nerve is the facial nerve, and this one has a broad range of functions. I mean, it covers all kinds of different things with the face. It's split into 5 different branches, each of which all target different parts of the face. The facial nerve controls like all facial expressions. It also assists with some taste sensations, and it covers the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. So there's 1/3 of the tongue that is still covered by another nerve, which I'll cover later on. And yeah, the facial nerve is both sensory and motor. The 8th cranial nerve is the vestibular cochlear, and this nerve is kind of broken into 2 parts. The cochlear part, which has to do with hearing, and then the vestibular part, which has to do with balance. And as you can tell, that nerve helps transmit sound and balance information to the brain. It's often called the auditory nerve, and this one is strictly sensory. So you have olfactory that does the smell, optic that does the eye, vestibular cochlear that does the hearing, and facial that does some taste. Up next, the 9th one is glossopharyngeal, and based on the name, you can kind of tell that it associates with the tongue and the pharynx. This nerve is the one that deals with the other 1/3 part of taste that the facial nerve doesn't cover, and as well as it also aids in swallowing, as it innervates the stylopharyngeus muscles of the oropharynx, and this nerve provides both sensory and motor information to the brain. The 10th cranial nerve, which is probably the most important just because of how much it innervates and what all it targets, is the vagus nerve. And this one has parasympathetic control, such as like heart rate. It monitors, like it controls your heart. It innervates with the bronchi, dealing with the lungs and breathing and respiratory, and the digestive tract too. It also helps stimulate digestion. But as for motor control, It innervates muscles of the pharynx, the soft palate, and the larynx. As for sensory, however, it innervates the external acoustic meatus and part of the laryngopharynx and the larynx. Um, the vagus nerve does quite a bit, and between the motor and sensory control, we can conclude that it provides both to the brain. Number 11 is the accessory nerve, and I don't really have a technique for remembering this one. All I know is that it innervates the sternocleidomastoid and the trapezius muscle, so it innervates on the side of the neck, and this nerve is it's purely motor. And for the 12th cranial nerve, I have the hypoglossal, and this nerve innervates the extrinsic and intrinsic muscles of the tongue, and it is purely motor function also. So the facial kind of does some for the tongue, but the main one you need to focus on is hypoglossal. That nerve does most of the movements of the tongue. But yeah, there's my 12 cranial nerves and the techniques I have to remember them, featuring a little bit of information about each. Hopefully this video was helpful, and yeah, appreciate it.